Hi guys, so sorry to keep everybody waiting. I seem to have some internet problems and I had to connect to my phone hotspot to get some internet here. Welcome to the Overdrive show. A special hello to Jashan, Lamba, Joy, Rahul, Rishabh, Mangesh, Vishnu, Talwari, Exim, Denim, Yash, Vishnu, Anish. I hope I've not missed out on any of the people who've been waiting for us. Thank you so much for waiting for 6 p.m. to join us. Let's start off with the first story for today's show. In a close-knit affair, which we were invited to, Hyundai India unveiled their premium 6 and 7-seater SUV, the Alcazar. As has become like tradition with most manufacturers in India, the SUV was camouflaged, but Bert has been able to get you some details, at least what he's managed to spot up close. Take a look.
This is the new Hyundai Alcazar. Of course, it's a camouflaged car, but there are a few details that I can share with you. One of them is that the Alcazar will sit in a very niche space, one between the Creta, the existing Creta, and the Tucson. Now, that's a space that there aren't too many players in that space, because this is a 7-seater or a 6-seater as well SUV. Three areas that I can talk about, and I should be talking about largely. Since you can see, this is a camouflaged car, so I can't tell you much about how it looks, but what I can say is that there is a fair amount of refreshment at the front end. It's a fairly different looking car in terms of there are some embellishments on the front end, on the grille, that are very different from the standard Creta. Closer to the launch, I'll have more details on how that looks, but some details around the headlamps, the grille is what has changed. Now, significant changes, of course, is that this is a much longer vehicle than the Creta, the Alcazar. The wheelbase has been extended. Now, the standard Creta stands at about 2,610 mm length between the wheelbase, which is in the front axle and the rear axle. But in the Alcazar, you've got about 2,760 mm of wheelbase length. And that essentially means there's been several structural changes to the chassis of the Creta to expand and extend the length of the car and enable it to seat or rather put 7-seat configurations or 6-seat configurations in the interiors. Now, I can't show you the interiors because that's under embargo restrictions on that. This effectively gives fairly larger amounts of space inside the cabin. I've sat inside the cabin, I've driven the car, it feels nice, it feels good to drive. But having extended the wheelbase, the track hasn't really increased in length, and that means you could have an unstable body. And to counter that, what Hyundai has done is beefed up the suspension. So there's on the rebound, there are rebound dampers, of course, put in, so there's lesser rebound for that matter. It feels a lot more stiffer, a lot more composed, not more than the Creta, but certainly for a 7-seater whose length has been extended, the rebound is phenomenal. It feels good to drive over bad surfaces, even in corners. It's a fairly taut, well-sprung car, so there isn't any instability that you will feel while driving. Additionally, the steering also has been worked on a little bit. There's a little bit of tweaking in there as well. And this effectively gives it a little more control, lesser body roll, though yes, as a large SUV. And if you've driven and experienced a Creta, you'd know how much of body roll is there in that, though it's something that can be completely ignored. Other elements that the Alcazar has got is the utilization of about 75 or 76% of advanced high-strength steel and high-strength steels, and that makes it a far more stiffer chassis, a far more stiffer body. There's been some tweakings in those departments as well, including a few of the joints. Wherever there are critical joints along the car, those weld spots have, again, advanced technologies to ensure those welds are really tight, very, very firm. Again, this makes the body a lot more rigid. So reduces body roll, gives it the kind of stiffness and ride quality that you would want in a vehicle of this sort. Now, if you look clearly, that's the larger part. This has been increased by almost 15 centimeters, which is a fairly large amount of space to increase in length. But for the rear passengers, the third row, you've got the quarter glass area. It's a fairly large glass area and gives you good visibility inside the car, so you don't feel claustrophobic. There is enough of sunlight getting into that cabin. It feels fairly comfortable inside once you're seated in that third row. Word of caution over here though, that third row ideally should be for children, not for full-sized adults. It could be a little more uncomfortable for full-sized adults. The door areas, especially the rear. Now, if you look at it, It gives you a slight indicator. The door openings have been widened, have been enlarged compared to the Creta, and this is principally to allow better ingress and egress to the inside of the cabin, to that third row especially. Now the middle row, that can be folded forward, it tumbles down and opens up enough of space for you to get into that third row. When you don't need the seating space, all the seats fall down flat, so you've got a fairly large cargo area. There are a few changes at the rear as well. The tail lamps have changed. Again, that's the one area that has been kept bare, but it really doesn't show you much with this camouflage about what the rear looks like. Not very different from the standard Creta, but yes, a new set of tail lamps, and of course you've got the Alcazar badging running across that chrome strip on the boot. Alcazar gets a 2-liter petrol engine. Now this is from the NU family of engine. It's not a new family of engine. It's been there in existence for almost a decade now. But the 2-liter petrol is there under the hood. It's got a combination of both automatic and manual transmissions mated to it, and there's also the 1.5-liter diesel which you've seen on the Creta. But the petrol makes about 159 PS of max power with close to about 190 Newton meters of torque. There's enough of power and enough of torque for you to put a full complement of passengers inside that cabin and take this out for any drive anywhere within urban areas or on highways also for that matter. The diesel is about 115 PS, but it makes a huge amount of torque, almost 250 Newton meters of torque. And that's also much better, of course. The drivability in the diesel would be far better than what you would get on the petrol. Now, having said that, both the automatic and manual transmissions are quite nice transmission options for this matter. It's a standard torque converter. There isn't a dual clutch system on this, so which means the variants, you won't have something like the sport variant that you'd seen on the Venue, the turbo variant that you'd seen on the Venue, or even for the matter in the Creta. Besides that, now there are a few changes on the interiors. Again, I can't talk much about that. I can't really show that to you until the time of launch. But this is the Alcazar, fairly promising. I think the price positioning will be a little more upmarket from where the Creta is, but falling well short of where the Tucson is positioned. It should be a fairly good proposition for those looking out for a 7-seater. People with larger families will certainly get the kind of comfort and convenience that a 7-seater has to offer. So there you have it. These are some of the critical changes. Yes, the Alcazar will also ride on 18-inch wheels and tires. That's another important change that's come about. Unlike the 17 inches that you get on the Creta, the Alcazar starts from an 18-inch on the top end trims. We haven't revealed what the entire trim list is like, so we don't know what is going to be available on that, but 18 inches is the car that we are seeing here today. Now, I've seen the car without the camouflage. Interesting looking vehicle, looks nice, looks promising, and well, let's see what the Alcazar can do in the Indian 7-seater SUV space.
Well, guys, a quick reminder before we get Bert and Rohit on the show. Top 5 good questions coming our way today will win an annual subscription to the Digital Overdrive magazine. So fire away. Let's get Bert and Rohit on the show, please.
Hi guys. Rohit, we can't hear you.
Sorry. Hello, Bert. Hello, Sohini.
Hi.
Hey Rohit. Hi Sohini.
So, Bert, before Sohini starts taking questions from the viewers, I need to ask you this question. At the end of this video, you already showed us the car without the camouflage in 2 photographs. So, if Hyundai was going to give you those images, then why put that camouflage on the vehicle that you went to shoot? I mean, they could have just shown the exterior as is.
Well, let's not go over there. There's been just too many issues with this whole thing right now, and it's one of the bits that I really dislike doing these camouflage car drives, prototypes, which aren't entirely ready or have some issue, and of course, when we shoot them, shooting prototypes, and in this case, like Hyundai has done, they've released images just the same morning for that, the same evening, in fact, they released images of the Alcazar. So I'm not entirely sure why we were asked to show or rather shoot a camouflage car, especially since we were also shown a completely, a completely naked car without the camouflaging, without the covers on it, and it looked good. It was an interesting color also. It has a nice grey shade, which is going to be one of the communication colors. And, it's got this slightly matte, glossy kind of a finish. Looks quite nice, quite interesting. So I've been really, they've done wonders to actually show them, to show you guys out there, the viewers, what that car actually looks like in the flesh. Because the launch is just about a month probably away, max to max about a month and a half. That's about it. I think I'm expecting it sometime in the month of May is when the launch will happen. So we're not too far away. I guess it would have made a lot more sense to just have production cars shown to us and to have shown you what the interiors and everything looks like. But nonetheless, it was an opportunity for us to more than anything else to meet up with a few more journals and run the risk of getting COVID positive.
Bert, I'm going
Yeah,
to
I mean,
request you to be a bit louder. I guess our viewers are also unable to hear you clearly.
Okay. Sorry, guys. I'm going to try and be as loud as I can without letting the neighbors hear what I have to say. Can't hear Bert, Nitin Joshua, Akshay Balal. Right. I hope you guys can hear me after this. There's
Yeah,
not much more I
yeah,
can do.
much
yes, it's
much
much
louder right
better.
now. All right,
There's just too
Bert,
many
we'll
issues
start.
with network.
Let's
Yeah.
start with the
Go ahead. Go
questions.
ahead.
Vishnu wants to know, with the 1.5-liter diesel engine, how can the Alcazar compete with the Safari, Hector Plus, and the XUV500? We want a 2-liter diesel engine, which is used in the Hyundai Tucson.
Well, Vishnu, I don't think the 1.5 diesel in the Alcazar will be a problem at all. It's not a problem in the Creta for that matter at this point in time. They're doing extremely well with that motor. And it's a good enough engine. You've got 150 PS of max power, but more importantly, you've got 250 meters of torque. So that engine will handle any job that is given to it comfortably without stressing anything. Hyundai also claims it is one of the most fuel efficient engines in the segment. So I take their word for it because in the past also they have done diesel engines. They have been extremely fuel efficient for that matter. And I don't think efficiency is not going to suffer. Torque is not going to suffer. You will still get excellent drivability in the diesel. Also keep in mind you've got both on the manual, yes, you've got the 6-speed manual transmission, but more importantly, you also got the automatic option for the diesel. So drivability is not going to suffer. It's going to be a good car to drive around. And I don't see any issues coming over there.
All right, here's another interesting question. Nitin wants to know, what are the challenges that you faced when developing a 7-seater SUV based on a 5-seater?
Okay, then a very interesting question. And if you haven't got a subscription in the past, then you will win a subscription today for sure. Because yes, there are a lot of challenges when you're developing a 7-seater SUV based on a 5-seater one, which essentially means that the chassis has to be extended, or rather, the right way to do it is to extend the chassis, make it longer. The wheelbase has to be extended, and that is what Hyundai have done at this point in time. Unlike some of the other manufacturers who have basically gone in to put a third row of seats in the back without extending the wheelbase or the length of the car. Now, when you do this, what you're essentially doing in the Creta, and this would have been a challenge if certain aspects were not taken care of. When you lengthen the chassis, you are making it more unstable because the length has increased, the wheelbase has increased, but the track has not gone wider. You want a footprint to rest on the ground that will be stable, that will have good dynamics, that will have a confident poise, especially when you're taking around corners. You don't want the vehicle to tip over onto its side, or get into a situation where the rear wheels lose traction and slide away. Now, to do that, you have to do a couple of things, which I mentioned in the video also. You have to strengthen the chassis, and you do that by using more high strength steels. In this case, you guys using advanced high strength steels and high strength steels, the combination. So it's about 76% more stiffness added to the Alcazar. You also got the weld points. Now, all of these critical joints, wherever they are in the car, wherever various structural elements are joined together, those have to be welded very precisely, very firmly to enhance rigidity, to provide rigidity and strength to that chassis, to make sure there is very little flex in that body. And you also have to work on the suspension. Now, what Hyundai has cleverly done is that they have reduced the rebound on the suspension at the front end. And so what will happen is when you're coming off a speed breaker, for instance, if you go into a pothole, your suspension length will increase, will expand. But while coming back, while getting back to its comfort position, that rebound, you can upset the car. What they have done is reduce the amount of rebound so that there is lesser bounce in the car. Also, the rear suspension geometry has been changed, so you've got a little more stability, you've got a little more comfort, you've got a little more precision in the entire setup. This is what you have to do when you're elongating or rather creating a five-seater SUV into a seven-seater. Now, what you also have to do is you have to compensate for the additional weight that you're going to put into the car because you're adding two more people into the vehicle. So the gross vehicle weight will increase, which means you also need slightly stronger suspension setup. So shock absorbers, springs, all of these have to be retuned. The dampers have to be a little stiffer or a little stronger, more capable of load bearing than what you would get, for instance, from the Creta. So all of these changes effectively is what Hyundai has brought to the table. Another critical change was the steering as well, where the ratio has been tweaked. So there's a little more precision, there's a little more directness. It feels far more linear than in the Creta, in fact, for that matter. Something that I missed out mentioning when I was doing the walk around. So all of these things together combined, and there's a lot more you can also do for that matter. But these things combined together make, is what are the challenges that have to be looked at when you're taking a five-seat SUV, elongating the chassis and making it a seven-seater. Also keep in mind when you're doing something of this sort, the weight bias that is there is now progressively leaning more towards the front end where the engine resides, and the rear end becomes lighter and lighter as you elongate it. So you have to further work on the rear end portion to make sure that the rear tires, the rubber is leaving a proper contact patch on the road surface, that the tail end does not slide, does not get all of this comes from feature suspension and things like that. So this is effectively all the challenges. These are things that one needs to look at when you're lending the chassis.
All right. But we have to really strain today to hear you. We're
I'm
getting a
sorry,
lot
guys.
of comments about.
I have an issue with. I have got an issue with my headphones. I'm on the headphones, and if I don't use them, I can't hear a thing. The audio on my cell phone is not smart enough. So sorry, bear with me.
All right.
Sorry, just bear with me.
So taking on from the question that was asked,
Yes,
there's
Kapil
another
Das,
one.
I need a better wireless headset. I'm waiting for a
But
manufacturer
Yash,
to gift me one.
but Yash wants to know, can we see any seven-seater electric cars in the future? What will be the challenges to build a seven-seater EV?
Yes, there aren't any significant challenges to build a seven-seater electric SUV. It will be built as you build an any IC engine vehicle. In fact, a longer wheelbase will effectively mean you can get slightly higher range also because you've got more space to place the battery pack, or rather more space to place a larger battery pack. So range naturally will exceed than what conventional five-seat SUVs or an SUV with a shorter wheelbase and lesser length. So that's the advantage that larger cars will have in time. But there are lots of how do I say it, negatives to it also, because as you increase the size of the battery pack, you're also adding more weight to the vehicle, and that effectively also negates the range that you could get. So there are lots of this tweaking that has to happen. But yes, you will definitely see seven-seater SUVs in the future, seven-seater electric vehicles in the future. Then the challenges will be similar to what you would have right now in developing a seven-seat IC engine SUV.
Okay, we have. I'm trying to see if we have any more questions regarding this Hyundai itself. Okay, here's one more. Ankit wants to know, what do you think about Hyundai's first seven-seater? How can it fare with a Safari or Maruti's XL6?
Interesting question, Ankit. It definitely falls in a space between an MPV and an SUV, or rather an SUV, but also compensating for what an MPV cannot do. So the advantage is in favor of seven-seater SUVs because you've got higher ground clearance, you've got a stiffer body, you've got stiffer suspension setup, so you've got better ride, you've got better dynamics. You've also got the ground clearance, so you can effectively take it off-road if it's got 4x4 drivetrains. If not, at least something a nice easy track, off-road track. You could do that also in one of these SUVs. So it would fare reasonably well against the Tata Safari or the Maruti XL6 for that. It definitely fare better than the Maruti XL6 for that matter. Where the Tata Safari is concerned, I mean, you're looking at essentially the Harrier itself, and it's a good car. It'll all depend on what kind of pricing Hyundai has to offer in this space, and what is the kind of acceptance level also for something of that, for something that Hyundai has to offer. Uh, Having said this, I mean, I like the way the Tata Safari interiors are. They look premium. I don't like the white shades inside that cabin. I think I quite detest that in that white interior because it's going to get filthy in no time. But apart from that, I think it's a well-built cabin. It's got a great set of features. It'll be a very competitive space, to be honest, to see which of these two cars is better. Now, what I do know is that I never liked the dynamic feel of the Harrier, and even for that matter, the Safari. They're great cars to be driving along, to be pottering along in comfortably on a straight road on a nice highway somewhere. But getting into a twisties, and I don't think, and I don't, from what I recollect, the Harrier or even the Safari for that matter didn't have the kind of steering precision or the directness that you would get in the Creta and or right now I'm presuming in the Alcazar. I haven't really pushed the Alcazar to do it, but in that directness is just not there. Now, I'm not saying that it needs to be sports car like precision or directness and feedback, but it certainly feels a few degrees lazier than what the Creta or the Alcazar is like. So there are certain areas. I think a comparison test in the future will tell us where exactly each of these stands against the other.
All right, we'll take one
So
more
having said
question.
that, having said that, that was Yash no asking the question. I
Yes.
don't know if we'll ever get to do a comparison between the Safari and the Creta simply because Tata Motors does not give their cars out to anybody else for comparison stories. They just don't like the fact that they keep using in all of these comparison stories done by anyone anywhere. So I think Tata Motors needs to step up their game, accept what it is, accept the way things are. And yes, if the cars are good, they will do well. It doesn't have to be that the cars have to win a comparison test necessarily. We don't. We are not looking out to put the cars down, but it is what it is. You don't win a comparison test. Work harder. Make sure someday in the future you are the best in the lot. That's all I can say.
All right, but we have a question here. Two questions actually from Pranav. He wants to know: is it not better to have rear-wheel driven architecture for a seven-seater SUV? And is Hyundai planning to offer the Alcazar in an all-wheel drive option in the future?
Pranav, no, Hyundai is not going to offer the Alcazar and all-wheel drive configuration in the future. And is it not better to have rear-wheel drive architecture? No, it's not better to have rear-wheel drive architecture because there are lots of complexities involved with providing a rear-wheel drive architecture. One of them is that your rear wheel, your rear axle is the driven axle, which means there are more mechanical parts going into it, which makes it far more expensive as well. That is one of the challenges that most manufacturers face. They don't prefer doing, and that's why they don't prefer doing the rear-wheel drive architecture. Second, keep in mind also, and I'll give you an example of where the Nano did the rear-wheel drive architecture, and it was very easy for the Nano to do this simply because it had the engine mounted over the rear axle, so all the drive shaft elements were very very short. Now, and it didn't need a large boot area. So it was a small compact engine. Now, in the case of the Alcazar, for instance, you cannot have an engine that sits. You have to have an engine that sits horizontally and not transversely, which means you can't have your engine in the Creta sits in the east to west direction. It's not sitting in the north to south, along parallel to the length of the car. If you had to put a longitudinal engine, you would need a much larger engine bay. And these are other challenges that in production to manufacture these cars. These are the other challenges that come forward. So wherever you see a rear-wheel drive vehicle, keep in mind, you will notice this. Always look at the bonnet area, and it will be a fairly large bonnet simply because the engine sits longitudinally and not transversely. So that's north to south is where it sits in a straight line like that instead of sitting across the bonnet. So that's one of the biggest challenges for rear-wheel drive architecture. But yeah, you still do a BMW, Mercedes, Benz. A lot of manufacturers still do the rear-wheel drive architecture in certain sedans. Most SUVs nowadays don't have a rear-wheel drive architecture. They have all-wheel drive, where the drive bias is shifted 40-60, 50-50, 60-40 from between the front and the rear wheels, depending on what the manufacturer and what kind of ideology that vehicle has to provide to its consumers.
All right, Rohit, we have a question for you. What are your views on the pricing of the C5 Aircross? We know it starts at 29.90 lakhs rupees.
Yeah,
Get
before
you
I
that.
answer that, I'm just going to add one more point to the answer that Bert just gave. Also, with the rear-wheel drive transmission, you're going to have a big transmission tunnel going through the floor of the car. Space management is obviously going to be one of the biggest challenges when doing a seven-seater or a three-row vehicle with a compact, size like a Creta or even the Sonnet, like we've now recently seen in the Indonesian market. So, if they were to do that rear-wheel drive transmission, rear-wheel drive train, the transmission tunnel would eat up a lot of space, and again, that would challenge the whole space management of it. So that was one bit that I wanted to add. Also, now moving on to the next question about the C5 Aircross. The pricing is not surprising. This is, I mean, I gave a hint about this pricing when we did the review as well. We had said that I would want a sub compass price tag, but I think that it's not going to happen. And that's exactly what has happened. You're looking at an on-road price of beyond 32 lakh rupees for even the base variant, which is a bit of a worry, is what I think. It's not going to get in a lot of numbers for the C5 Aircross at that price, is what I believe right now, because it's a great car. It's got good comfort as well. But the big challenge that I see with this pricing is that it lacks the kind of features that the Compass is giving you. It lacks the kind of powertrain choices that the Compass is giving you. So the Compass is always going to have an upper hand, at least in terms of what you see on the spec sheet. And then we can also see that the Compass, despite being such a great car, is not doing big numbers for Jeep, and that is again because of this particular price point. This is a price point where the market is sort of biased two ways. It's either that they decide to draw a line at cars like the Creta, where they say, okay, I don't really need to go beyond a Creta or a Seltos because those cars are giving me all the space and all the features that I need in this particular size bracket. But the moment you start also going towards the 37, 38 lakh rupee kind of a price tag, you start having other options. You might stretch and get yourself a Fortuner and Endeavor, or you might end up getting yourself a Fortuner or an Endeavor in the pre-owned market at this particular price point. And these are much larger cars. They also sort of cast a particular image about you to the society. So, this is that difficult zone. And we have seen many cars come into this particular price bracket. That's the 30 to 40 lakh rupee on-road price bracket, and not really do much. And that is because the market is either settling for something that is, a lot more practical, something like a Creta or a Seltos, or they are just upgrading. We have the CRV, we have the Tucson, we have the C5 Aircross now. It's still a fairly new product in the market, so I don't want to say much about it. But these other names, they have shown us that they have not really done well in this particular price bracket. It's a bit of a tricky zone, so to say. So all the best to Citroën if they manage to get the C5 Aircross getting in big numbers for this model with this kind of pricing. That would be really good.
Alright, here's another interesting question coming from Yash Pawar. He wants to know, can we see any off-road SUVs like Thar with an electric engine? What will be the challenges to build an extreme off-road EV?
Yes, there aren't any challenges to build. Like I mentioned this earlier also, there aren't any challenges to build an off-road SUV or a regular SUV with an EV, with an electric powertrain for that matter. The challenges are just as are similar to what a manufacturer would have building an IC engine SUV. Now, the challenge comes in providing range and where can you provide it. Now, recently, keep in mind, Jeep in the USA started providing charging points in the wilderness. All right. Now that is expensive infrastructure. That's something that needs to be that needs a lot of investment and needs usability as well. People now Jeep in the USA does this because a lot of people out there have a lifestyle of going outdoors, driving off road, getting to places where nobody lives, nobody exists. It's blank, it's vacant, it's desolate, but it's also beautiful. And there are enthusiasts who want to go out there and do stuff. And Jeep is preparing for that future in any case. But this is the biggest challenge. How are you going to put up in India, for instance? How are you going to put up an EV charging station somewhere far away from civilization? Once we don't even have enough of EV charging stations in urban areas. Highways are next. That's the next big target. And then, I mean, you're looking at somewhere, outdoors for that matter. I don't know when you're going to do or be able to serve that purpose. You can't even carry an additional battery pack for a car for that matter. So you're kind of, if you get outdoors and you run out of range, you run out of charge, you're essentially stuck. There's nothing you can do. There's nowhere you can go. So this is one of the challenges for a lot of EVs
especially off-road EVs that have to be utilized and have to be taken off-road or will go overlanding somewhere, far away from urban areas. It's one of the biggest challenges, and that's infrastructure.
All right. Rohit, we have a question here from Dodo Samuel. He wants to know how come some of the nicer vehicles actually don't have an automatic version. Isn't that the future with our roads getting super dense with traffic? He's talking about the Ford Figo, Honda WRV, and the Nexon. Rohit, you're on mute.
Sorry. Yeah, no, there is an automatic version of the Nexon as well. That is the Nexon AMT, and yes, there will be automatic versions of everything. That is where we are headed. Maybe a few years back, maybe a decade ago, it was a little difficult to convince buyers to go with an automatic, despite knowing the convenience of it, and that was because the automatics were predominantly not as fuel efficient as their manual counterparts. But today, things are the exact opposite for quite a few manufacturers. In fact, Honda, if I'm not wrong, the claimed fuel economy for a Honda City, the new one, is more on the CVT compared to the manual petrol. So yes, it will happen. Somewhere it's easy for a lot of manufacturers to say, "Oh no, we are an enthusiast company, and our customers are typically enthusiasts, and that is why they are not looking for an automatic," which is not true anymore. People want automatic versions of almost every car that are available on sale right now, and it's going to happen. I mean, it's an eventuality. And when you go electric, obviously everything is going to be automatic. So yes, there will be automatics of each and every model line. There will be automatics in every possible model line. Maruti has already shown us that they can have AMTs even on the entry-level cars. So there will be an automated version. Let's put it that way. Maybe not a fully automatic, but at least an automated version of every model that you will be able to buy, and that shouldn't be too far away.
Okay, here's a question from Ajay Ajpal. He wants to know, why do most car manufacturers, except the luxury ones, bring in products which are on the verge of a facelift, compromised in terms of features and engines, and do not launch popular models in India?
Ajay, interesting question. Okay, I'll nominate you also for an award as a winning question for this week's show. But most car manufacturers, keep in mind, a lot of car manufacturers actually did keep India not just up with the times, ahead of the times. In fact, even the premium manufacturers, whether it's Mercedes, BMW, Audi, there was a time before the lockdown when there were several launches of theirs which would happen simultaneously at the global launch or global introductions. And that's in the luxury segment we're talking about. At the lower ends or at the premium and even the more affordable segments, there are several products that come out first in India and then go across to the rest of the world. The Alcazar is not a prison house, it's a castle, but the Alcazar is one of those vehicles which will be launched first in India and then will be exported globally as well to other markets. Now, unfortunately, there are certain products in the last couple of years that have, at least from the luxury manufacturers, that have come out in international markets first, and they have taken a bit of time coming down to India. Case in point, whether it was the A-Class, whether it was the Q2, all these products were launched at least a year to 2 years. The Q2 was one of the longest. I think it's almost 4 years since it was launched internationally and then finally came down to India. And at which point, I mean, they were just trying to kind of get over those stocks that were there because there is a new Q2 in the pipeline already, a facelifted Q2 for that matter, which we did not get in India. I am hoping that the next lot of cars that come down will be the facelifted Q2, but I'm not entirely sure of how that goes. The A-Class, of course, it was just some time ago, 2019, that the A-Class came out. And again, given the lockdown, the situation that happened last year, Mercedes had to delay a bit their launches and defer them to 2021 instead of keeping them in 2020. Otherwise, we'd have got the A-Class much earlier. So, having said that, most manufacturers try and keep up with the times globally. For that matter, India is not on the back burner. They do offer a lot of their products, most of their products for that matter, come out well on time. It's just not easy to launch every single product in the Indian market immediately, simply because there is not the gestation period of where the workshop service staff has to be trained, has to be groomed, has to be taught how to service those particular cars. What are the challenges in them? All of this has to be taken care of because India is very, very very value based. And for most consumers, we want a seamless experience. We don't want problems with our car. We don't want problems at our workshops. We don't want problems at dealership. So the training goes on for a period in time until the manufacturer feels that they are able to support a new product that's coming out in the market. They don't launch it. And which makes a lot of sense to me. There's no point getting out a product in the market and then losing out on goodwill if you cannot service it or if you cannot take care of it. At the same time, you have to make sure your part supply, that's entire supply chain is in place, that there are enough parts for anything that goes wrong. A lot of these issues. So manufacturers try and, especially luxury manufacturers, try and keep abreast of whatever is happening globally, but it does take time in certain cases.
Alright, I'm going to club the next two questions. Ajay wants to know that any genuine hybrids in the pipeline, like the Camry, which is the need of the hour instead of pure electric. And Arun says why the hybrids are not getting publicity in the Indian market.
Well, Arun, okay, so the hybrid, are there any more cars that are coming out of hybrid powertrains? Not really. There aren't too many cars. There are no cars that are coming out of hybrid powertrains. Effectively, we have skipped the entire hybrid ecosystem and we are moving straight towards electrics, and that's why you're seeing a lot of EVs coming down, whether it's from Jaguar, Mercedes-Benz, Audi, and a host of other manufacturers, even the premium and the more affordable segments. There's Tata Motors, whether it's Mahindra, whether it's Hyundai, whether it's Kia. There'll be a lot more EVs coming in, and manufacturers are just entirely skipping the whole hybrid ecosystem, simply because hybrids are not making any sense any longer in terms of manufacturers having to conform to the emission requirements that are being put into place, and that will come out in the near future as well. Now, and that is one of the reasons why hybrids are not getting a lot of publicity in the Indian market, simply because manufacturers aren't going the hybrid route any longer. Everybody is moving towards EVs and preparing for an EV future, and that effectively is where the game is being played at. Having said that, we are in fact already working on hydrogen fuels. There is a lot of work going on in India on hydrogen also, for that matter. So there are several manufacturers who are already testing cars, who are already testing the fuel systems, who are already testing storage facilities, distribution. All of this is already being evaluated in India. There are very hush-hush projects going around with various manufacturers. You will not hear a lot about it until a lot of things are ready. But effectively, hydrogen is the future. Not even electric pure EVs, which use power generated from coal plants or from hydroelectric plants, or however they generate power. The future is definitely going to be hydrogen. Even the electric vehicle as we know it today is a stopgap measure till we come to hydrogen. Sorry, have I lost anyone?
Right.
No.
It's a
every time I finish answering the question, Sohini, I like to use walkie-talkies, I'm going to say over.
No, there seems to be an internet lag. I cannot help it.
Yeah, which is the weirdest thing happening today, guys. So apparently Rohit was seeing everything on YouTube 20 seconds before it went live on our proprietary streaming device. So I don't know how that happened. How is YouTube so futuristic? But I'm scared already.
It's not just us, even the back end of producer is disappearing, so it is really a little worried.
Man, there's a lot of questions out today, guys. I'm sorry if you're not going to be able to keep up. There's like a ton of questions coming out. And apologies, I'm not sure if we'll be able to answer most of them, but I'm trying to give as concise as, or at least as broad answers as I can possible, just to make sure everyone kind of gets a general idea. There are lots of questions around the Alcazar and lots more coming up on the XUV and all that I can see.
So we'll just we'll get back to that actually, because we have to first get to the news, and we mentioned all of this in the news as well. So we'll do that and we'll come back to all these questions. Let's start off with Citroën. We mentioned it just a while back. The C5 Aircross has launched in the country. Introductory prices, of course, starting at 29.90 lakh rupees for the base steel variant, going up to 31.90 lakh rupees for the top variant, which is a dual tone shine variant. You can book the SUV across 10 dealerships in India or via the website. The Aircross is being locally manufactured in India at Citroën's facility in Tamil Nadu, with locally produced engines and other components, and the eventual goal is to achieve over 90% of localization. Further, the C5 Aircross can be bought directly from the factory across 50 cities in India. You can check out more details on our website as well. The updated BMW 6 Series GT has launched in India starting at 67.9 lakh rupees ex-showroom, and you'd have to shell out 77.9 lakh rupees for the 630D M Sport variant. Maintenance packages range from 2 years or 40,000 kilometers to 10 years or 2 lakh kilometers, and the pricing starts at approximately 52,000 rupees. Further assured buyback plans are also available, and online bookings made before the end of April will get complimentary BMW accessories and lifestyle collection products worth 1.5 lakh rupees, spanning the BMW display key, headphones for the rear seat, entertainment package, and more. There are some cool paint options as well. While the new carbon black shade that you see on the screen right now is exclusively available for the M Sport trim only. You can also check out our latest review. Rohit has driven the car. It is on YouTube. Jaguar Land Rover India has started accepting bookings for the facelifted F-Pace, which will launch by May this year. This facelifted F-Pace gets fully done over interiors with a new stubby gear selector. Highlight, of course, is the 11.4-inch curved glass touchscreen that features the new PV Pro infotainment system. Jaguar has also added new tech here, like a PM 2.5 air filter, SOTA updates, and a heads-up display. This new model should be locally assembled and come at a 2 to 3 lakh rupee premium over the outgoing versions. So there were some interesting teasers that were shared earlier this week as well. One came in from the Brazilian market, which suggests that the upcoming Jeep Compass-based 7-seater SUV could be named the Commander. What we do know, and wouldn't mind refreshing your memory about, is that the new SUV, codenamed the H6, will be the third of the 4 models that Jeep has planned for the Indian market. So we'll just have to wait and watch if the Commander is what we get in India sometime earlier next year, which will take on the Ford Endeavour and the Toyota Fortuner. The other exciting news, and we see many of you already asking us about it, just take a look at the short teaser. So Mahindra & Mahindra has announced that its upcoming replacement for the XUV500, codenamed the W601, will in fact be called the XUV700. Sorry? Both, were you trying to say something?
No, 700. That's it.
700. The XUV500, the company has confirmed, will be discontinued, and the XUV700 will launch in India around June or July of this year. The SUV is expected to get upgraded versions of the engines that recently debuted on the Thar, which would be the 2-liter Stallion turbo petrol and the 2.2-liter M-Hawk diesel paired with a 6-speed manual and a 6-speed torque converter automatic gearbox. Mahindra has also confirmed that the addition of an optional all-wheel drive system will be possible with this SUV. I think we could just quickly take a couple of questions regarding Mahindra before.
I saw a question, very interesting. I'm just looking for that again. This is from Yash Oja, if I'm not mistaken. Just give me a second. Yeah, Yash, here we go. What are your views on deleting the physical infotainment buttons as done on the Nexon? And I'm completely against this. I am completely against all these digital panels that do not have touch and feel buttons on them, where the tactility is not there. I hate touch screens. It's absolutely dangerous to be using touch screens, and I generally don't know how we're going to survive in the future. Yes, and that's one of the reasons why a lot of connected tech is coming into place, where you can actually speak and have a conversation with the entertainment panel and get it to perform several functions for you, whether it's changing the climate control inside the cabin or changing an audio track. And these systems are getting smarter and smarter and smarter. So yes, I think that makes a lot more sense. But the lack of buttons for that matter. In some cases, the air conditioning buttons are absent. Some cases, the volume control and the audio infotainment controls are absent. They're quite. I just don't like them.
Alright, we've got questions regarding the XUV700. Sunil wants to know, is it advisable to buy the Safari, or should he wait for this SUV? Or should he extend his budget for the MG Gloster, or should he look for any full-sized SUVs as budget is not a problem?
Sunil Prasad, the budget is not a problem. Buy an Urus. Lamborghini, man. Urus is it. That's it. I tell you, don't look further. Buy an Urus. Budget is not an option. You very clearly stated over there. Go for it. Go for an Urus. You want to have a
No.
lot. You want to have a lot more fun. I mean, then the RSQ7 is there as well. That's a little cheaper, more affordable than the Urus, but it's the Urus in Audi clothing, and that's it. So you've got two great options over there. But on the Safari, or should you wait for the XUV700? I think you should wait for the XUV700 and see what it is like, because it is an exciting. It sounds to be exciting. Again, guys, I've been seeing a lot of comments and lots of comments on at least YouTube that are going around, and it isn't. We don't know at this point in time if it is a replacement for the XUV 500 or it will be a standalone model placed positioned above the XUV 500, above the 500. So all of these details will come to us shortly. It will come to us in the future, but let's not assume anything at this point in time. It probably might make sense for Mahindra to continue with the XUV 500 as well, since there would be a market for it, and position the XUV 700 above it. Just if it's a larger vehicle with a lot more space and a lot more premium features, then yes. We're also seeing a few comments on the pricing, expected pricing, which would be about the 21 to 28 lakhs. And that's a very broad range of pricing that was given out there. But yeah, I guess it would definitely be in the 17 to, I would assume 20 to 23 lakh rupee bracket. That's where the XUV 700 would reside. Just a little above the Thar, where it would be positioned. Now, in the entire gamut of how Mahindra's vehicles will be positioned, I would presume the upcoming Scorpio would be somewhere close to where the Thar is, or if not at a similar price point as the Thar. Then the Thar, and then of course the XUV 700. That's how its lineup would be. So I don't expect to see the pricing going above 23 lakhs. If they exceed 23 lakhs, I'm not sure if anyone will want to buy a Mahindra. So we've got a tough challenge out there. Let's see how we address it, and let's just wait and see what the XUV 700 is like.
Here's a question.
Sorry, I think
the more in the MG Gloucester.
I think the Alturas G4 has already sort of shown Mahindra what the upper ceiling is for the pricing and what they shouldn't exceed. And
what the reaction is to the upper ceiling more than anything.
What the reaction is.
I don't know anybody who's bought the Alturas.
True. So yeah, and that car is going to still stick around. So I'm sure the XUV 700 will be placed below the G4. If they don't, that would be a disaster. But it will certainly be below that. So yeah.
Actually, that's
Akshay Balal, hang on. I've got there's another winner for question of the week. This guy should get 2 subscriptions.
But one sec. Before you say that, though, we have had people asking us online as well whether this XUV 700 is just going to be another Alturas, just like how Tata did with the Safari. In fact, there was one question.
It's very premature to assume anything at this point in time until we know a few more details about the car, at least we see it in the flesh. So let's just hold on to our horses, guys. I think there will be some information coming up within the next month or so. Let's just wait, be patient. Mahindra could be offering a great product in the XUV 700 if Thar was any indication of how the future lineup of production is going to be like. So let's just wait. Let's be patient. And now let's come back to Akshay Balal. Please. Brilliant question.
Is it about the Scrappage?
Akshay, where are you from? Udbi. In vehicle scrappage policy, yes, in vehicle scrappage policy, can we club multiple older vehicles to gain incentives on a single vehicle purchase? Now, here's a absolutely brilliant thing, because here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking of buying an 11-year-old vehicle, then taking that scrappage policy, that incentive, and going and buying a brand new car. Buying a brand new Merc or something of that sort, for that matter. And I think I'll do this 2 or 3. I also had this thought in my head. I'll do this 2 or 3 cars. I'll buy all these old cars, buy them from Central India, come back with them to Bombay and put them into scrapping and say incentive डाल के मुझको भाई नया गाड़ी दे दो, luxury premium sports car.
Actually, it's a good time.
I don't think you could do that. Otherwise, Akshay, everybody would be buying, going into the scrapyard and buying vehicles from there itself and going back to the scrapyard saying scrap करके मेरे को certificate दे दो.
Actually, let's just to put things into perspective, this week itself we had news that Renault India, in partnership with Mahindra CERO, have announced their new joint initiative to scrap old and unused vehicles. Under this initiative, anyone can bring an old or unused vehicle of any brand to Renault's authorized dealership to get a fair scrap evaluation and additional benefits over the existing monthly offers on the products, including, say, a Quid, Tribo, or a Duster. The entire process of evaluation scrappage itself will be undertaken by Mahindra CERO's recycling units, and the vehicle owners will not need to go through the hassle of visiting RTOs. The required deregistration and destruction certificate will also be arranged by Mahindra Zero. Old two-wheelers can also be handed over for scrapping at Renault's dealerships, and the owners will get a 7.9% rate of interest from Renault Finance on the purchase of the new Renault products. The scheme will initially be launched in Delhi, NCR, Chennai, Mumbai, Pune, and Bengaluru.
Okay, forget all that. Hang on. Let's forget all of this. This thing, Mahindra tied up with some scrappage guy somewhere, and Renault tied up with another guy who's going to scrap vehicles, and all these things that they are doing. I want to know, where is that 5% discount going to come from after scrapping the vehicle? Nitin Gadkari has promised this on behalf of the entire auto industry, and now the auto industry is scratching their heads trying to figure out where is that 5% discount going to come from. So forget all of whom you're going to tie up with and whatever. There's 5% discount पहला ही चाहिए. And I don't want free floor mats and tinted windows and perfume on the dashboard. I'm sorry. That will not.
We cannot get tinted windows. Yeah. I got pulled over the other day for tinted windows also, which the manufacturer had provided.
We don't want 5% benefit in terms of floor mats and I don't know, some window cleaner and window washer liquid, free window washer liquid for life, sir. Not interested in those. So I want to know where that 5% coming from, how a manufacturer is going to give that 5%. So let's see what the pricing is, effectively what the pricing comes down to. Let's see what that is.
Alright, and one more piece of news that we have to discuss. The Delhi High Court has mandated you have to mask up even if you're the sole person driving in your private vehicle, failing to comply with which you will be fined. The Delhi High Court has described the act of covering one's face as a Suraksha Kavach or a protective shield against the spread of the infection. So if you reside in the capital city, stay alert and stay safe.
Absolutely, I completely agree with the Delhi High Court. Brilliant move. I will wear a mask in my car and then I will enter the church and I will take it off. When there are 500 people gathered for Easter Mass. I will do that. Absolutely.
Debatable.
Absolutely right.
Really debatable if you're the only person driving.
Yes. I will wear a mask in my car and then I will go to
that's the thing. We have so many people in our country with so many different views. It's very difficult to control anybody in our country.
No, it's absolutely anyway. But let's not divert. Let's not get distracted by the ridiculousness of the whole.
Right. So I think I'll take over with the motorcycle news. Producer, can we have the AV for the Trident? So the Trident is the first motorcycle that we're going to talk about. It is finally here. It has been launched in the country at a very, very tempting price tag, rupees 6.95 lakh ex-showroom. That makes it, one of the most economical performance roadsters out there. It's got a triple cylinder engine. It's a 660cc engine. Comes from the new Street Triple S or the older Daytona 675. It's derived from that essentially. It has an 81 PS power output. I think that's going to be more than enough. 64 Newton meters of torque. And I think that price tag is what is going to attract a lot of audience now, to the Triumph dealerships, because up until now, this price point could only get you something like a street twin, and now you have this particular vehicle, which is going to sound very nice because of the triple cylinder engine. It's going to perform very well as well because that 81 PS. We know what this engine feels like with the Daytona, with the Street Triple. So all of that combined, it should be an explosive package. Is it that? Is something that we are going to tell you next week. In fact, we are scheduled to ride this motorcycle early next week. So once we do, we will have the review up on Overdrive. So definitely do take a look. The next bit of news that we have essentially is the SXR 125 from Aprilia. Now, the vehicle is not yet launched in the market. What you see here on the screen is the SXR 160, but this is the same bodywork, same chassis that is going to be carried over, same kind of features as well, which means you'll get the USB port, you'll get the LED lights, you'll get the digital instrumentation as well. So the bookings for the SXR 125 have been open. It's in the same power range as earlier, like the SR125, which has been discontinued. So you're looking at about 10 PS of power output, 9 Newton meters of torque. And the booking amount for now is about 5,000 rupees. You can either go to the Aprilia dealership near you, or if you're facing a lockdown like we are, then you can just book it online on Aprilia India's website. But this vehicle is slated to be launched earlier this month, and 5,000 rupees, like I said, is the booking amount for it. And the next bit of news is from Ather. Ather always seems to be in the news almost every week, and this week they are in the news because now they have expanded the number of charging stations that they have within Mumbai. There are now 10 new charging stations in all strategic locations, and they've also begun operations in Jaipur. So they are slowly and steadily, increasing their footprint throughout the country, their reach throughout the country, and they're also backing it up with new charging stations, new experience zones that are cropping up, mushrooming up here and there in the country. So that's a very good move. So yeah, that's it. Those are all the two-wheeler news that we have this week. Like I said, the highlight is of course the Trident, and that motorcycle is what we're going to be riding next week. So if you have any questions about that motorcycle, use the hashtag AskOD, send them through to us. You could reach out to us on our social media, and I'm going to be personally riding the motorcycle. So I'll take all those questions and I'll try and answer them in my review. Back to you, Sohini.
Okay, we have to give one more thing now. Winning question I've got, and this is from Shashank, who everybody thinks is spamming.
Shashank is spamming, or I thought Electron blogs.
Why Lamborghini's cars are expensive? Rohit, come on, you have an answer to that. Why are Lamborghini's cars expensive?
Well, I think see, you have to hand it to Lamborghini. They are, even in today's day and age, they are continuing with the V12. They've confirmed that their next hypercar will also have a V12. Yeah, I think that is what makes the cars expensive. The kind of technology that goes in it, the kind of materials that go in it, the kind of envy that goes in it. So I think all of those combined, it makes Lamborghini's cars very expensive. And of course, they have to continue being on the poster for most people, right? It shouldn't be as easy as just selling a piece of land and getting yourself a Lamborghini, just the way most people do it these days with Mercs, Audis, and BMWs. So I think they have to maintain that stature. They have to maintain that price point. They have to maintain that exclusivity. So I think that is the reason why Lamborghinis are expensive. The technology bit of it, and the whole desirability bit of it, where they have to be on your, okay, let's not say bedroom wall. That is what Bert and I used to have when we were growing up. I think they have to be on your cell phone wallpapers now. So that is what makes them dream cars.
Okay, so I'll give you a slightly more, this thing, how do I say, technical answer. No, not interesting answer. I'm not going to be sarcastic or funny over here. Just actually, I have a genuine answer to give people. And that's essentially, there are several engineering facts that go into making a Lamborghini or a Ferrari or any of these supercars. Keep that in mind. You're looking at an engine that's pushing out an enormous amount of power, anywhere in the region of about 500, 700, cars going all the way up to about 1,000 horsepower. Now, and a motor that can put out that kind of power needs a chassis, needs suspension, needs tires, needs various factors that can keep up with that output, that can ensure that the car stays on the ground and doesn't actually take off. There are planes that can take off at lesser speeds. We've also seen this in the past at Le Mans, for instance. One of the Merc, the CSK GTR, which actually took off while it was driving because the aerodynamics were that slippery. It was going down the Mulsanne straight and it just lifted off. It took off. It flew, and of course crashed immediately after. But but the fact remains that these cars need those kind of aerodynamics. Once you're also carrying that kind of power, you need the kind of stopping distance, the kind of stopping power that these enormous carbon ceramic brakes can only the carbon ceramic brakes can provide. To enhance the performance. Now, these are supercars that are capable of doing 100 kilometers, not even 100 kilometers. Today, we're talking about 0 to 200 kilometers in under 6 seconds, 7 seconds, which is ridiculous kind of speeds. Okay, so for those kind of speeds also, you need aerodynamics. Your body structure has to be such that it kind of just slides through the air. You need a lightweight body, you need a lightweight chassis, you need things made out of aluminium and carbon fiber, and all of these are expensive technologies, all of these are expensive. ancillaries. They are all expensive parts, not very easy, and that's one of the reasons. One of the reasons why cars like Lamborghini are very expensive. Second, Lamborghini, Ferrari, Maserati, McLaren, they all exist in very niche spaces, extremely hallowed circles with very, very, how do I say it, intense and colorful histories attached to them. And at all points in time, I mean, they are in the premium space. So keep in mind, yes, while it may not necessarily be that expensive to manufacture these cars, the premium charge on these cars is huge. Okay, so there's a lot of money that Ferrari, I mean, you have to think about it. How is Ferrari ever earning the kind of money which helps them support a full, complete F1 program and do various things around the world just by selling what, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 cars, maybe 5,000 at best around the world? How is it that they manage to earn that much money selling this, that? What is their market valuation at this point in time? They are very, very rich companies also at the end of the day. So you really, you have to charge these, and some of this comes from the huge premiums that they also charge for these cars, collectibles for that matter. I mean, probably 30%, 40% of that price of the car is just a premium that they charge for the badge value, for the heritage value that's associated with those products. So that's why these cars are very, very expensive. It's not just meant to, this was just not for some, but for everybody out there, just to give you a sense of why some of these cars are as expensive as they are.
In fact, I'm going to add a little bit to that, since we are, answering this question a little bit more seriously now. Sometimes they may not even recover the cost of engineering and the research and development that went into that particular product. For example, Bugatti, every Veyron, every Chiron that they built, they were actually losing money on those vehicles. For the kind of price that they were going at, they were still losing money on those vehicles. Fine, the Volkswagen group is still, big enough, so collectively they can still sort of offset that somewhere. And that is the reason why you'll also see these extremely expensive one-offs or special editions, limited editions that will come out, because technically it is trying to help offset that R&D cost a little bit by charging that kind of a premium over and above a regular Lamborghini. For example, we've seen the Veneno. There were hardly 3 or 4 built. We've seen the Aventador J. We have seen quite a few of these one-offs, which the Centurion, they're just endless. Every year there's some limited edition collectible car that comes out from Lamborghini, same thing from Bugatti. So that also is in a way a business model where you spend a lot of money developing a really good hypercar, and then you also create one-offs based on that particular platform, based on that particular car, so that you can sort of offset or at least recover the costs that have gone into the R&D. But primarily it's the materials, it's the technology, it's the R&D. It's basically making sure that all the horsepower numbers that you see from that particular vehicle, those kind of numbers today, in today's day and age, are easily achievable for any tuner. But to make all of those numbers reliable, to make sure that those numbers keep on delivering for years on end, that is where the whole technology and the R&D is. And that is why these cars are, so expensive.
All right. There was a question some time back, but I can't, today we're being bombarded with so many questions that question has disappeared. But I, just to make things clear, in case it wasn't clear while I was getting the news out, that the XUV700 is not, basically going to be a replacement for the XUV500. It's not going to be in the market any longer, the XUV500. So there was a question which had come saying that the Creta and the XUV500 are in the same, on the same platform, and then there will be an Alcazar and an XUV700. But just check out our news report on the Overdrive website, where we clearly state that Mahindra has announced that it will be discontinuing the XUV500, just so that everybody is on the same page. All right, Bud, I hope you've kept track of our winners as well. The top 5 questions from today.
Sohini, I just told you those 4 winners.
4? I just printed 2.
I haven't printed. No, you didn't print 2. You printed 3 or 4 of them.
You said Bud. You said Nitin, and you said Ajay, Ashpal. Those are the 2 that we have right now.
Guys, anyone remembers the others that we announced as winners? Because today there's too many questions, and I think
if you guys remember, you will also win free subscription.
No, we're not just distributing free subscriptions just like that. This is not Chana Bazaar.
Okay, so we had a lot of questions. The same question.
To have 185 horsepower stated by you, or what is that? Or will Mahindra burst the bubble and give us a monstrous 160 bhp? 185 bhp, but the 160 is monstrous certainly. Ricky Parab, well, we don't know again. Like I said, we don't know what the specifications are going to be. They've just teased that they're going to do the XUV700. But what are the specifications? What will it offer? How will it look? We have no details or anything else at this point in time. Everything is just, we just have to wait and watch, like you as well, to see what Mahindra has up their sleeve.
All right, but if there is a semiconductor shortage in the world, why?
Electron vlogs. So hang on a second before we take Sahil's question. Electron vlogs. I have a doubt. Is build quality a very big issue in some cars? People blaming some manufacturers. Can you please discuss for me in this live? Electron vlogs. Build quality is not a very big issue. Most manufacturers design and develop cars, keeping all of their making to make sure that it runs reliably. There are fewer problems in their cars that consumers have to face, for that matter. But yes, time and again, there are certain things that skip by them, that there will be some errors either in at the supplier level, at the vendors, where production or manufacturing of some of those parts will not be up to the mark. Sometimes the quality of materials used, or the tolerances. There are several issues that can always creep up eventually into a car. And because the car is a moving object at the end of the day, in some cases this compounds the issue, and it can be a dangerous situation, which is why manufacturers also issue recalls and callback cars if there is a faulty part operating in it, and they replace it. But it is not a big issue. It's just that, yes, manufacturers make sure that the situation is corrected, and of course, by the time they've actually found out and figured out what the problem is and put a correction in place, several cars have already been sold, and then recalling it means recalling 700,000 cars back plant to get the problem rectified.
All right, but let's talk about the semiconductor shortage that is taking place in the world. Why are manufacturers who make the semiconductors not mass producing it to overcome this shortage?
Sahil, semiconductors are being mass produced. There are millions and millions, if not billions, of semiconductors being manufactured across the world. Taiwan and Korea are two of the largest manufacturers of semiconductors anywhere in the world. But there is a genuine shortage. Ever since we went down into the pandemic, and entered into lockdown mode, there's a very, very high demand for electronics, whether it's smartphones or laptops or tablets or various other devices of that sort, even televisions and various other things for that matter. Now, semiconductors are literally the backbone of all of these electronic systems, and not just one or two of these semiconductors. There are sometimes, in some cases, there are several semiconductors being used. In a car, there could be up to about 15, 20, probably more semiconductors being used in one single car that take care of various functions. These are the sensors, the control units, the ECU, various other things, various other parameters. And I will definitely come back to you on this at some point as to how many semiconductors go into a single car. Let me ask the manufacturer. I should have thought of this earlier, but I will definitely ask the manufacturer and find out how many semiconductors go into a car. Now, in a cell phone itself, in a smartphone itself, there are several semiconductors that go into it. And this is one of the reasons why there is a global shortage. Add to it, in Japan recently, there was another fire at a major warehouse at one of the semiconductor manufacturers, and those manufacturers effectively said that there would definitely be a delay for another couple of months before they were able to substantiate the loss that occurred due to that fire. And keep in mind, most of the cars that are coming out today have a lot of electronic systems on board. It's an enormous amount of electronics on board, controlling so many functions on the car today, and it's only going to get worse as more EVs come to play, as more autonomous technologies come into play, as more connected technologies come into play. You're going to need more and more semiconductors, and the world is seeing a demand unlike anything ever before, and that's where the shortage is happening. And this shortage is definitely going to affect the automotive industry, which is not the first in line to receive those semiconductors. Keep in mind, there are also hospitals, firefighting, there are several medical services, there are emergency services, all of which use semiconductors in one form or the other, in most of their devices also that help them and aid them. So the demand for semiconductors is just huge. It's not being met globally right now, and it's one of the reasons why it's affecting the automotive industry. And there are several delays in production, and it's not an oversight. It was just something that was unprecedented. No one expected to see the kind of demand that would surge in such a short time for semiconductors. So yes, if you do believe there is a case for it, go ahead, start a manufacturing unit for semiconductors. I'm sure there will be some or the other somewhere, and you could be a billionaire overnight.
Right,
Correct.
but to
But
just
while
quickly add to the question that you had, while giving your answer, I don't know how many semiconductors go in a car, but from what I remember, I think at the 2019 CES that we attended, we were told that between 30 to 45% of the price of today's car is because of the electronics or the semiconductor-based electronics that cars today are running. So, almost half the price of the car is because of those electronics. So that sort of gives an idea of the volume of semiconductors that cars might require these days. And this, of course, is an international picture. It's not India specific. It's an international picture.
Yeah.
all right, I'll
All
just
right,
take a
guys,
moment to
let's
plug
move
in
on.
one
Yeah.
story which is there on our website as well. Tuhin Guha has written a very interesting story informing you how the global semiconductor shortage has affected the auto industry. You might want to read up on that as well. Rohit, while while Rohit answers the next question, you can take your time to figure out who the 5 top winners are going to be. Rohit, shouldn't the Trident be dyno tested to avoid the street triple fiasco that happened in the past?
I wish we had easy access to a dyno, Akshay. Unfortunately, we don't. But I don't think that fiasco is going to repeat itself ever again for any manufacturer. I'm hoping. But yeah, I mean, you're looking at an 81 PS output, and now even our emission norms are in line with what is happening globally. So BS6 is in line with what is happening at Euro 5. In fact, I'm told that BS 6.1 and BS 6.2 are also on the horizon, or probably already rolled out, and they are going to be a little bit more stringent than even Euro 5. We don't know exactly how bad that is going to be for the manufacturers. It certainly is going to be quite bad. But yes, as far as the power outputs go, as far as the tuning goes, for most of these new high performance engines, or even the imported engines for that matter, their tuning differences are not huge anymore, not like what we saw with the street triple back then. So this 81 PS should be 81 PS. But I'll make sure that I ask this question to Triumph when we meet them for the ride, and when we have a quick chat with the product team.
Rohit, there's one more. Denim wants to know, will Yamaha 10R700 come to India?
No. In fact, I asked this specific question to Yamaha in an interview that we did recently. In fact, that interview will be up on Overdrive in the next couple of days. The interview will also be featured in our upcoming issue of Overdrive. So definitely do check it out. But yeah, they have clearly told us that that segment is not what they're looking at right now. They're looking at the premium segment. And when they say premium, they're talking about 150s, 250s. They're not really talking about the imports right now. So they're going to concentrate on this, and adventure bikes right now don't really, make it to their roadmap anywhere. In fact, they're calling the FZS an adventure motorcycle. So you sort of get an idea of where Yamaha is headed. So yeah, no adventure bikes from Yamaha India at the moment. So no 10 700 either. So yeah, sorry, that's not happening. Not anytime soon.
And Shashank wants to know, is Aprilia launching the RS 150 in India?
Well, Shashank, can't really say. That project has been on and off for quite some time now. In fact, if you recall the interview that we did with Piaggio last year, they said that they would now instead look at a slightly higher bracket. They would look at something like the 300, 350, 400, that kind of a zone, because they don't see much of a market for the RS 150, because it's an Aprilia at the end of the day. The Yamaha R15 already is considered to be an expensive product by a lot of people for a 150cc, and the RS 150, if it would come out, would be priced even higher. So Piaggio is not sure if people will want to spend that kind of money on a 150cc motorcycle. They would rather go with a 300 or a 350 or a 400, maybe even slightly higher, because you have a complete new lineup of the KTM 490s coming out in a few years from now. So they would sort of want to target that audience. This is going to be a more premium motorcycle range. You are going to have a 210 variant as well as street bike variant based on this platform as well. So yeah, that platform is still on, but what they are really evaluating now is a higher capacity and not the 150 capacity. When the plan started, yes, they had the Yamaha R15 and the FZ16 in their sights with these two motorcycles, but at a slightly more higher price point. But now you have the 250 sitting in that particular price point, which people already think are quite expensive as well. Your Gixxer is already crossing 2 lakh rupees for a 250. So if Aprilia were to launch a 150 at a price even higher than that, probably no one would really touch it. So that's the reason why they would rather go to the more premium end of the segment, where people are already sort of tuned to spend close to 3.5, 4 lakh rupees for KTMs, and then probably place a product in that particular price point, and then evaluate their options.
Rohit, what about the Yamaha Aerox?
No, they are purely concentrating right now on the lineup that they have at hand. They are essentially looking at giving you more color options. There is going to be a mix and match option that is going to hopefully roll out for all their products. You already have that on the MT15, where you can choose what body color you want, what wheel color you want from the available palette, of course. So it's going to be something similar. But yeah, right now they are purely concentrating on the products that they already have. There'll be some enhancements here and there to the entire product range, but all new models maybe at the moment are not going to happen.
All right, and we'll take one final question. Here's one from Shashank. He wants to know, sorry, where did it go? He's asked, should he wait for the Innova, should he go with the Innova Krista, or should he wait for the Alcazar?
Well, I think let Bert answer that. He is.
No, go for it. I'm actually searching for those questions.
See, I'm not sure if the Alcazar is really going to affect the Innova all that much. The Innova, it sits in its own, it has its own clientele, it has its own bracket, and a person who wants the Innova usually doesn't look at any other options. They purely choose between different variants of the Innova, whatever fits their pocket. But once they have decided they want the Innova, they usually stick to the Innova, and that's how the market has really evolved. For the Alcazar, I think the models that are going to really feel the brunt are the likes of the Safari, the MG Hector, because like Bert mentioned in one of the answers that he gave early on in the show, this is more of a vehicle that gives you the 3 rows as well as the kind of practicality that an SUV, or the capability that you expect from an SUV, not really an MPV in that sense. And the Innova, it is slightly different. Yes, it is not as MPV-ish as it used to be. With the whole Fortuner underpinnings, it's a bit more robust than what it used to be earlier. So it has its own charm in that sense. It has its own set of capabilities in that sense. But I think the Alcazar is not really going to take away much from that Innova clientele. Like someone even mentioned that, will a 1.5 liter engine be enough? There are going to be quite a few people who are going to think that way, and maybe think that the 1.5 is not going to be enough, or that's not what they want. They want a larger engine, and that is where the Innova is going to continue to support. Again, I have my doubts on whether Hyundai will want to support the sale of the Alcatraz. The Alcazar with a yellow number plate in the whole fleet segment of it. I'm not sure if they would want to go down that route to maintain the exclusivity, the premiumness of what this vehicle is all about. Whereas the Innova bets big on those segments as well. So I don't think the Innova is going to be affected all that much. It's essentially the Hector and the Safari and the Harrier which I think are going to be the most worried with the entry of this new Hyundai.
I like the confusion, Rohit. I think this is ultimately what's going to happen to everyone. So many cars. Yes, we are well past, and people are already disappearing because IPL has started. At least somebody is meant to say 7 o'clock IPL. Thank you so much. So quickly, let's announce.
I don't watch cricket, but sorry, if IPL is there, then watch it.
No, time to announce the winners, but.
So I got 4 things. One of those questions I'll just give you, Sohini, which was the last one from Suraj. Was it? Sunil Prasad, do you think Volkswagen's 2.0 plan will work out as the diesel is discontinued and after sales support is very questionable? So do you think that the Volkswagen Group can change the mindset and get good sales? Well, they definitely, the Volkswagen Group has got a very strong pipeline in place where SUVs are concerned, and then they've got the notchback or the sedan coming up early next year as well. In the meantime, they've got the Tiguan, the Tiguan, the T-Roc, the Tiguan Allspace. All of these are going to be refurbished and refreshed. And of course, the new Tiguan is coming out as well. And then sometime in the future, they've also got a sub 4-meter SUV in the pipeline. So they will, their 2.0 plan is in place. It will do well. They're also working on a diesel powertrain, but whether they will offer a diesel powertrain in India in the future is debatable. Let's see how it goes. Keep in mind, as technology, as emission norms keep getting more and more stringent, it gets more harder and harder. I've said this in the past, it gets harder and harder for manufacturers to kind of meet those emission norms with diesel engines. At the same time, it becomes very expensive to offer those kind of technologies to consumers. So they are willing to get out of the diesel market entirely and stay with petrols. Now, will they meet their 3% market share with just the petrol powertrains? I probably think they might, as a group overall, is what they're looking at it. So I guess they will definitely meet and match those targets of having 3% market share, Volkswagen and Skoda combined. So let's see how it goes. But I do think they have a plan, and effectively they are working towards it, and it is achievable.
All right. I think those are all the questions that we could take today. But if we could just have the winners of today's show, please.
Definitely Akshay Balal. I don't know if he's won subscription in the past, but if he hasn't, then Akshay Balal for that vehicle scrappage policy question. Can we club multiple older vehicles to get incentives? Sorry. Shashank, question on why Lamborghinis are expensive. There's also a question from Yash Ojha. I can't see that question because there's been too many questions that it's kind of disappeared in the timeline. I'm not able to find that, but if I'm not mistaken, Yash Ojha was one more of those who asked us a question, which was fairly interesting. Sunil Prasad, which I just took just now, do you think Volkswagen's 2.0 plan will work out as the diesel is discontinued and after-sales support is very questionable? I'm not sure if there was one more that we selected. I can't.
There were two more. You mentioned Nitin Joshua right at the start, and you mentioned Ajay Ajpal at the start as well.
Okay, Ajay Ajpal, I can't remember the question that he had asked, but yes, and Nitin Joshua, if you haven't won subscription in the past, then definitely here. So we will give the details. You need to send an email to us and we will respond back to it. There are also some comments by someone who hasn't received their subscription from us. Guys, I'll make sure that my subscriptions team gets in touch with you. If you send the email, then they will get in touch with you and you will receive that subscription. Just keep in mind, you will get the next subscription onwards in the next issue. The April issue should be coming out in the next 4 to 5 days and not the March issue. So you will get the next issue that will be coming. So possibly why you haven't received a subscription as of yet.
Alright guys, so please drop us a line on digitalshow@overdrive.co.in so that we can facilitate this and you can get your subscription activated before you meet us next week on the show. Now before we sign up, we'll quickly take a look at what we have on TV tomorrow.
Hold on a second before we sing. Sachi Patmajan, I won the top 5 question as sent a comment. He won the top 5 question last 2 weeks, but how do you get the magazine? You need, Sachi, Sohini just mentioned, you need to send an email to us. Sohini, the email ID is
digitalshow@overdrive.co.in.
Yeah, so there you go, digitalshow@overdrive.co.in. Do send us an email again and I'll connect you to the right people who will facilitate this for you.
Alright, so we'll just, in case you missed details on Hyundai's premium SUV, the Alcazar, you can catch it tomorrow on the Overdrive show. While we also, can we just play the teaser, please? Hold on, just a second. My producer has disappeared once again, so I will play it myself. 1 second. So yeah, in case you missed it, you can check out details on the Alcazar at 1 p.m. tomorrow on CNBC TV 18. We can also bring you the detailed review on the updated BMW 6 Series GT, and we tell you why the Ducati Multistrada 950 is worthy of its price tag. Overdrive tomorrow 1 p.m. and Sunday 12:30 and 8 p.m. on CNBC TV 18. The show streams live on CNBC TV 18 live TV as well in case you don't have a television set. We'll take your leave this week then. Do stay safe.
Yes, guys, have a safe weekend. We are under lockdown here in Maharashtra, in Mumbai especially. So the next 2 weeks, I'm going to chill out, grab a few beers, some gin and tonic, sit back, watch some of the races, watch a few good movies. You have a nice weekend too.
See you guys.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.